Are you aware of what you transmit through the tone of your voice? That's what I'm talking about here. So, most of us are completely oblivious to how we come across and what the tone of our voice is saying, what it's transmitting underneath the radar, underneath the words we're using and what we're trying to communicate. There's a whole other kind of frequency, like in a radio station, there's a whole sort of bandwidth, a wave that is being transmitted from you to others. Now, most of us are completely oblivious to this because we're so used to the tone of our own voices and how we speak. But the truth is, our voice reveals everything about us. It reveals how stressed we are, how relaxed we are, how happy we are. It reveals if we're impatient, pissed off, annoyed, or simply bored. And these are just the more superficial states on top that are transmitted and reflected through the tone of our voice. And I'll talk about the more pervasive states that are underneath in the second half of this video. But for now, let's just look at the more superficial states that shift and change as we go through our day. So, your boss, you'll hear your boss and you'll know immediately through the tone of his voice if he's pleased with what you've done or if he's annoyed that he's got to explain something again, right? It's that kind of flavor. And it's not in the words, it's in our inflection, meaning how high and how low our voice goes, in how fast we speak, the general pacing, which can speed up and slow down. All of that is transmitting emotion. Okay. And it's quite revealing because, it makes us quite self-conscious once we become aware of this. We realize, oh my goodness, yes, people can actually read me through my tone of voice. We know when somebody's irritated or annoyed, and we know it through the tone. And I would even maintain that the tone is even stronger than the visuals. There have been lovely tests done with doctors and in America where there was a study done and they were trying to check which doctors were sued more often. And even with the words muffled out, simply by listening to the tone, they were able to determine which doctors get sued more often. And it's because they lacked empathy in their tone of voice. And that speaks more to the pervasive underlying frequency. And now it's become a bit fashionable in psychology to start talking about prosody and how the voice changes. But from my background, obviously in singing, this is what we're working with the whole time is the color, we call it, the color that is transmitted and that carries that emotional frequency. And now the thing is here that we all need to know is that when we've experienced trauma or chronic stress, that stress gets held in our body in certain internal organs. Like if we're an angry person, the liver is going to be holding a lot of energy back. If we are very afraid, our kidneys are going to be tight and they're probably even going to be placed higher in our body. And the elasticity of our diaphragm is going to be reduced. So all of this reflects in the tone of your voice. And if we have very these sort of chronic tensions or states of being become habituated, they on a general level reflect in our tone of voice. And over time, these states and this tension held in various organs or places in the body is going to reduce the elasticity in the movement of these organs, and thus it's going to reduce your range, your vocal range. So your pitch and range are going to be compromised, how low your voice can go or how high your voice can go. And also there will be places that are compromised in the flow between the two. So depending on where we're holding tension in our body, how habituated and chronic that tension or that energy is, there will be places within our range that are gaps, that are hard, or the actual range will be compromised. And this is just a very broad overview to show you how much any trauma, any tension or stress, especially if it's chronic, is reflected in your voice. So when we start to work with voice, we're essentially working with these organs and areas and muscle groups that in the body that are holding this tension. And by using various very titrated, slow vocal explorations, we're starting to kind of massage the internal organs from within and allow some of that tension to start being released and to be integrated in the whole body. Okay. Yeah, so I'm teaching this summer a whole series on neurosensory voice work in London. I'm really looking forward to it. We're doing 6 consecutive Saturdays, which is a lovely time frame to give you enough practice and exploration to understand your own voice, to go through your own journey with your voice and develop a completely new relationship to your own voice, as well as to your ability of hearing other voices. And the first Saturday is at the beginning of July, and we will be focusing on your relationship to yourself, your voice, and the relationship to your voice in terms of how you use it for yourself, to connect to yourself. So I'd love to see you there. Do come along.